Hello everyone, today I'm going to read The Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie, and it's part 2, chapter 13 from the page 188. Like this, I'm always reading another book and record it, and I'm trying to record hold this book and post it on YouTube. So if you're interested in, or if you want to watch my improvement of my reading fluency, or just want to tease me or something, anyway, to find out where I was wrong or where my pronunciation was bad, I appreciate that. So you can just watch and check me. And if you like it, please go to my YouTube channel and give me a like and share or subscribe. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Chapter 13. Ray said, "Someone pinched the pistol. It wasn't Jacqueline de Belfort. Someone knew enough to feel that his crime would be attributed to her. But that someone did not know that a hospital nurse was going to give her morphine and sit up with her all night. Add one thing more. Someone had already attempted to kill Lynette Delriel by rolling a boulder over the cliff. That someone was not Jacqueline de Belfort. Who was it?" Poirot said. "It would be simpler to say who it could not have been. Neither Monsieur Doyle, Madame Allerton, Monsieur Tim Allerton, Mademoiselle Van Shaler, nor Mademoiselle Bowers could have had anything to do with it. They were all within my sight." Said Grace. "That leaves rather a large field. What about the motive?" "That is where I hope Monsieur Doyle may be able to help us. There have been several incidents." The door opened and Jacqueline Belfort entered. She was very pale and she stumbled a little as she walked. "I didn't do it," she said. Her voice was that of a frightened child. "I didn't do it. Oh, please believe me. Everyone will think I did it, but I didn't. It's awful. I wish it hadn't happened. I might have killed Simon last night. I was mad, I think. But I didn't do the other." She sat down and burst into tears. Poirot patted her on her shoulder. There. We know that you did not kill Madame Doyle. It is proved. Yes, proved. Mon enfant, it was not you." Jackie sat up suddenly, her wet handkerchief clasped in her hand. "But who did?" "That," said Poirot, "is just a question we're asking ourselves. We cannot help us there, my child." Jacqueline shook her head. "I don't know. I can't imagine. No, I haven't thought the faintest idea." She frowned deeply. "No," she said at last. "I can't think of anyone who wanted her death." Her voice faltered a little. "Except me." Ray said, "Excuse me a minute. Just thought of something." He hurried out of the room. Jacqueline de Belfort sat with her head downcast, nervously twisting her fingers. She broke out suddenly. "That is horrible. I hate the thought of it." Poirot said, "Yes, it is not pleasant to think, is it, that now, at this very moment, someone is rejoicing at the successful carrying out of his or her plan." Don't, cried Jackie. "It sounds horrible, the way you put in." Poirot shrugged his shoulders. "It is true," Jackie said in a low voice. I wanted her dead, and she is dead, and what is worse, she died, just like I said." "Yes, mademoiselle. She was shot through the head." She cried out. "Then I was right. That night at the Cataract Hotel, there was someone listening." "Ah," Poirot nodded his head. I wondered if you would remember that. Yes, it is altogether too much of a coincidence that Mademoiselle Dole should be killed in just the way you described. Jackie shuddered. That man that night. Who can he have been? Poirot was silent for a minute or two. Then he said in a quite different tone of voice, You are sure it was a man, mademoiselle? Jackie looked at him in surprise. Yes, of course, at least. Well, mademoiselle? She frowned, half closed her eyes in an effort to remember. She said slowly, I thought it was a man. But now you are not so sure? Jackie said slowly. No, I can't be certain. I just assumed it was a man, but it was really just a figure, a shadow. She paused, and then, as Poirot did not speak, she added, You think it must have been a woman? But surely none of the women on this boat can have wanted to kill Lynette? Poirot merely moved his head from side to side. The door opened and Besna appeared. Will you come and speak with Mr. Doyle, please, Monsieur Poirot? He would like to see you. Jackie sprang up. She caught Besna by the arm. How is he? Is he all right? Naturally, he is not all right, replied Dr. Besna reproachfully. The bone is fractured, you understand. But he's not going to die? He's not going to die? Cried Jackie. Ah, who said anything about dying? We will get him to civilization, and there we will have an X-ray and a proper treatment. Oh, the girl's hands came together in a convulsive pressure. She sank down again on the chair. Poirot stood up, stepped out on the deck with the doctor, and at that moment Rex joined them. They went up to the promenade deck and along to the Besna's cabin. Simon Doyle was lying up, propped with cushions and pillows, as improvised cage over his leg. His face was ghastly in color, the leverage of pain with shock on the top of it. But the predominant expression on his face was bewilderment, the sick bewilderment of a child. He muttered, Please come in, the doctors told me about Lynette. I can't believe it. I simply can't believe it true. I know, it's a bad knock, said Rex. Simon stammered. You know, Jackie didn't do it. I'm certain Jackie didn't do it. It looks black against her, I dare say, but she didn't do it. She was a bit tired last night and all worked up, and that's why she went for me. But she wouldn't do murder, not cold-blooded murder. Poirot said gently, Do not distress yourself, Monsieur Doyle. Whoever shot your wife, it was not Mademoiselle de Villefort. Simon looked at him doubtfully. Is that on the level? But since it was not Mademoiselle de Villefort, continued Poirot, can you give us any idea of who it might have been? Simon shook his head. The look of bewilderment increased. It's crazy, impossible. Apart from Jackie, nobody could have wanted to do her in. Reflect, Monsieur Doyle. Has she no enemies? Is there no one who had a grudge against her? Again, Simon shook his head with the same helpless gesture. It sounds absolutely fantastic. There's Wildensham, of course. She more or less checked him to marry me, but I can't see a price stick like Wildensham committing murder, and anyway he's miles away. Same things with old Sir George Wood. He's got a down on Lynette over the house, disliked the way she was playing it about. But he's miles away in London, and anyway to think of murder in such a connection would be fantastic. Listen, Monsieur Doyle, Poirot spoke very earnestly. On the first day we came to board to the Karnak, I was impressed by a little conversation which I had with Madame, your wife. She was very upset, very disturbed. She said, mark this well, that everybody hates her. She said she felt afraid, unsafe, as though everyone round her were an enemy. She was pretty upset at finding Jackie aboard. So was I, said Simon. That is true, but it does not quite explain those words. When she said she was surrounded by enemies, she was almost suddenly exaggerating. But all the same, she did mean more than one person. You might be right there, admitted Simon. I think I can explain that. It was a name in the passengers list that upset her. A name in the passenger list? What name? Well, you see, she didn't actually tell me. As a matter of fact, I wasn't even listening very carefully. I was going over the Jacqueline business in my mind. As far as I remember, Lynette said something about doing people down in business, and that it made her uncomfortable to meet everyone who had a judge against her family. You see, although I don't really know the family history very well, I guess that Lynette's mother was a millionaire's daughter. Her father was only just ordinarily plain wealthy, but after his marriage, he naturally began playing the markets or whatever you call it. And as a result of that, of course, several people got in the neck. You know, I feel this one day, the greater the next. Well, I gathered there was someone on board whose father had got up against Lynette's father and taken a pretty hard knock. I remember Lynette saying, it's pretty awful when people hate you without even knowing you. Yes, said Paul thoughtfully. That would explain what she said to me. For the first time, she was feeling the burden of her inheritance, and not its advantages. You are quite sure, Monsieur Doyle, that she did not mention that man's name? Simon shook his head ruefully. I didn't really pay much attention. Just said, oh, nobody minds what happened to their father anyways. Life goes too fast for that. Something of that kind. Bessner said dryly. But I can have a guess. There is suddenly a young man with a grievance on board. You mean Ferguson? Said Port. Yes, he spoke against Mrs. Doyle once or twice. I myself have heard him. What can we do to find out? Asked Simon. Port replied. Colonel Race and I must interview all the passengers. Until we have got their stories in, it would be unwise to form theories. Then there is the maid. We ought to interview her first of all. It would, perhaps, be as well if we did that here. Monsieur Doyle's presence might be helpful. Yes, that's a good idea, said Simon. Has she been with Mrs. Doyle long? Just a couple of months, that's all. Only a couple of months? Exclaimed Porter. Why, you don't think... Had Madame any valuable jewelries? There were her pearls, said Simon. She once told me they were worth 40 or 50,000. He shivered. My God, do you think those down the pearls? Robbery is possible motive, said Porter. All the same, it seemed hardly credible. Well, we shall see. Let us have the maid here. Louise Boggart was the same vivacious Latin brunette who Port had seen one day and noticed. She was anything but vivacious now. She had been crying and looking frightened, yet there was a kind of sharp cunning apparent in her face which did not possess the two men favorably toward her. You are Louise Boggart? Yes, monsieur. When did you last see Madame Doyle alive? Last night, monsieur. I was in her cabin to undress her. What time was that? It was some time after 11, monsieur. I cannot say exactly when. I undressed Madame and put her to bed, and then I leave. How long did all that take? 10 minutes, monsieur. Madame was tired. She told me to put the lights on when I went. Put the light out when I went. And when you had left her, what did you do? I went to my own cabin, monsieur, on the deck below. And you heard or saw something more that can help us? How could I, monsieur? That, mademoiselle, is for you to say, not for us, Esquire Porat retorted. She stole a sideways glance at him. But, monsieur, I was nowhere near. What could I have seen or heard? I was on the deck below, my cabin. It was on the other side of the boat, even. It was on the other side of the boat, even. It is impossible that I should have heard anything. Naturally, if I had been unable to sleep, if I had mounted the stairs, then perhaps I might have seen the assassin, this monster, enter or leave Madame's cabin. But as it is, she threw out her hand appealingly to Simon. Monsieur, I implore you, you see how it is? What can I say? My good girl, said Simon harshly, don't be a fool. Nobody thinks you saw or heard anything. You'll be quite all right. I'll look after you. Nobody's assuming you of anything. Nobody's accusing you of anything. Louise murmured, Monsieur's very good, and dropped her eyelids modestly. We take it, then, that you saw and heard nothing? Asked Louise impatiently. That is what I said, monsieur. And you know of no one who had a grudge against your mistress? To the surprise of the listeners, Louise nodded her head vigorously. Oh yes, that I do know. To that question, I can answer yes, most emphatically. Porat said, You mean Mademoiselle de Villefort? She certainly. But it is not for her I speak. There was someone else on this boat who disliked Madame, who was very angry because of the way Madame had injured him. Good Lord, Simon exclaimed. What's all this? Louise went on, still emphatically nodding her head with the utmost vigor. Yes, it is as I say. It concerns the former maid of Madame, my predecessor. That was a man, one of the engineers on the boat, who wanted her to marry him. And my predecessor, Mary, her name was, she would have done so, but Madame Doyle, she made inquiries, and she discovered that this Fleetwood already he had a wife of color, you understand. A wife of this country. She had gone back to her own people, but he was still married to her. You understand. And so Madame, she told all this to Mary, and Mary, she was very unhappy, and she would not see Fleetwood anymore. And this Fleetwood, he was infuriated, and when he found out that this Madame Doyle had formerly been Mademoiselle Lynette Ridgway, he told me that he would like to kill her. Her interference ruined his life, he said. Louis paused triumphantly. This is interesting, said Louis. Porat turned to Simon. Had you any idea of this? None whatever, Simon replied with patient sincerity. I doubt if Lynette even knew the man was on the boat. She had probably forgotten all about the incident. He turned sharply to the maid. Did you say anything to Mrs. Doyle about this? No, monsieur, of course not, Porat said. Do you know anything about your mistress' pearls? Her pearls? Lucy's eyes opened very wide. She was wearing them last night. You saw them when she came to bed? Yes, monsieur. Where did she put them? On the table by the side, as always. That is where you last saw them? Yes, monsieur. Did you see them there this morning? A startled look came into the girl's face. Mon Dieu, I do not even look. I come up to the bed. I see, madam. And then I cry out and rush out of the door and I faint. Escaport nodded his head. You did not look, but I have the eyes which notice, and there were no pearls on the table beside the bed this morning. Okay, this is the end of the chapter 13 in the pages. Okay, let me calculate. It started from the 188 to 199, about 10 pages, around the 10 pages, yes, I guess. Okay, thank you. And this is just an interview after Lynette's death. And raised someone pinches a pistol, and it was Jacqueline Belfort. Yes, I agree. Jacqueline didn't do that physically. She couldn't have done that. So it's not a Jacqueline, I guess. Yeah, I agree with it. Then they go to see Simon, and he was injured because he was shot by Jacqueline. So I thought he will be in a very dangerous condition. But when they go to Simon's bed, he couldn't get up. His face was pale, but he can somehow manage conversation with them, make a conversation. And he said it's not a Jacqueline Belfort. Well, I don't know why he has to defend Jacqueline, but yeah, I agree. It's not her. And the Simon becomes really adult guy after from the last night, just before he was shot. No, maybe just after he was shot. He was shot by Jacqueline, and he said, "It's my fault. She's nothing to do with it. It's just an accident. Don't tell my wife about this because she will worry about him." Yes, I agree that, but Simon is not a kind of that guy beforehand, like when she was in landmarks, but he was no interested in them. And when he was with Lynette, with her business signs on the papers, also he was not interested in. He always think of himself, and he showed no interest to others. But here, he always taking care of other guys, and especially Jacqueline. So he suddenly became an adult guy, I guess. So my impression of Simon was just a child. He's a silly child. But now he behaves like a mature guy, and impressive while he was shot. So maybe gun shooting changed him, I guess. And then they interviewed to her maid. Yeah, before that, Simon listed up the many names of the possible murders, but they are all far from the boat. They are in England. They're all in England, so physically they can't shoot Madame Doyle. So they are not the guys. Or maybe they can hire some assassins, like paying money to kill Lynette to get into the boat as a tourist, like a tourist. So someone might be an assassin of him. That's possible. But the one thing is, the different thing is that the maid interview, she said there was a pearl on the table, but Paul said there was no pearl on on the table. So that means someone took it out and hide or keep by himself or throw it into the boat, because there was a splash last night after the death, after the murder. Someone heard the splash outside the boat. That might be a pistol, I guess, but there might be maybe this pearl's necklace. Yeah, this was a necklace. This was pearls or just pearl. The description just said just pearl, so there wasn't a necklace or a circlet or bracelet or maybe a ring. I have no way to find out, but it's pearl, and it's really expensive pearl. 40 or 50 something. I didn't remember. Okay, and that was stolen. At least no pearls. So pistol is missing now, and the pearl is missing now. There's 2 items missing. There must be some clue after that, I guess. So this is the story of this interview. And I read the 10 pages, about the 10 pages today. So maybe it take about 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And I don't feel like I'm tired. So I think I'm getting used to read this book until now. And I think I can read one more chapter today, maybe, if I have a time and enough vitality. I will try to read next page too. Thank you. This I'm trying to record the whole book today. This Agatha Christie's this one that I'm trying to record reading a lot of this book and posting it on the YouTube for my record. And if you like it, please come to the YouTube channel and give me a like and subscribe. Thank you. See you next time. Bye bye.